Welcome to episode 198 of Missing Pieces. This is my weekly audio journal podcast where I talk about what I'm up to and what I'm into. And to start this episode off, we need to rewind the tape. Does anyone even know what that means anymore? Be kind, rewind all the way back to last weekend so I can share a story for you. It's got a bit of a setup to it, which makes stories fun, right? So let's go back to last weekend where I made a very innocent trip to the grocery store to pick up some keto-friendly supplies. This is just a really quick run that I needed to make just to have some things in the house that would suffice until I actually made an official grocery run during the week. And I went, everything went well. I found myself, this is funny because when we go to the grocery store with Cody, Mrs. Brickatecta, she's known in some circles, I always make fun of her because she's there looking at every label and she's looking for clean ingredients. She's looking to see what all terrible things are in foods, which you'll find that there are a lot of terrible ingredients in foods. What I was looking for were carbs, and you'll also find there are a lot of carbs in foods too. So I was looking for things that I could actually consume while keeping my carbohydrates low because I'm doing the whole keto thing, which we'll talk about later. Needless to say, everything went well there. I found some good stuff and things that weren't even on my list. I was like, hey, this actually works. Most of the things that you can get away with, like the cheats, I guess, are meats, beef jerky, and cheeses. Like those things are great for keto because the carbs are so low and you can eat those. There's some downsides to that too, which we'll talk about later. But anyways, I got the grocery store run done and everything was good. And then I decided while I was out, it was a pretty cold morning, but I decided that I'm going to go for a walk. Let's go burn some calories. It's a beautiful day outside. Well, was it? It was kind of cloudy, but it was a beautiful day enough for me to go get some walking in. So I go down to the walking path, park my car, go for a walk. Out there, it was wonderful because I ended up coming across the bridge, and then there were some geese down there in the water just being all kinds of mouthy, and I got a little video of it. It could probably work as a YouTube short. I didn't say anything during it. I just kind of filmed it with my phone since I had it. I was listening to a podcast while simultaneously helping Deb with some eBay issues she was having. It's my rule. I'm like I kind of help them through their technical difficulties. If anyone has I hope she's not listening. Anyone has I was going to say elderly, not elderly, an older person in your family that you help them with all of their technological stuff. That's kind of our relationship. And it makes me feel good because I don't feel like there's much in this world that I am good at, but helping them with little technical things like it empowers me. So I enjoy doing it. Don't get it twisted. Anyways, I got that shot, which was wonderful. Finished my walk. Got back in the car and I drove home and everything was wonderful. I went inside and I continued a project that I was working on a little bit earlier. We had some new patrons sign up, so I was writing thank you cards. I finally got those in the mail, and then I was like putting pictures with them. And I've been doing this thing where I've been asking people like, what photo would you like? Because we had a few that I had taken of various things, and I was like, well, I need to try to match these up with the right person because just seeing your name, I don't know enough about you. So now when people join, I say, I welcome them in just through it like a direct message. And I say, I'd love to take a photo for you or send you a photo. And is there something in particular that you'd like the photo to be of? And I'd love to hear more about you as well. So I get these lovely stories of how people found our channel. And then they say, oh, I'd like a picture. And mostly people want pictures of the three of us, or they say picture of Clark Man. Someone requested a picture of Roxy Bear, which was wonderful because I had one. And it was tough to give that one away because I was like, who's going to want just a picture of Roxy? No offense, Roxy Bear or Roxy Bear enthusiasts. Don't come for me. But I think most people want a picture of a human figure. Like I'm not just going to take a picture of my water cup sitting here on the table or anything like that. I want it to be a photo that you can look at and admire or scare you because sometimes I'm in them. And I was doing that. So I was writing out a card, and then my phone got an alert that said my tire pressure was low in the Subaru. And I'm like, what the heck? So I open the garage door and I look out and I hear it. And you probably already know where this is going. I looked at my back driver's side tire and there was a screw in it. Not ideal. In your deck, a screw being in there, wonderful. Your tire, not wonderful. And I'm attributing this to the fact that I went on the bike path or drove into that. There's like a stone area where the walking bike path, dog path is. And I feel like maybe I drove through a screw there. It could have happened anywhere though. Could have happened on the road. Could have happened in our driveway. Who knows? But I definitely had a flat tire. It was becoming flat. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with that. And that was like a stressor for me. This is one of those things that like I knew it happened. And then in the back of my mind, it would keep creeping in where it's like, oh no, I'm going to have to deal with this tomorrow. And I let things like that sometimes get to me. Like, you just, it like weighs you down a little bit. When some people maybe can just move on, I dwell on things. I guess that's the word. I'm a dweller. I'm a dweller. Not something you ideally want to be, but I don't think there's any changing it. I don't think I'm ever not going to be that. So, anyways, that was like the big event from last weekend, and that happened on Sunday. So Monday morning, I made a phone call to the tire place that's just down the road about 2 miles away, and they said they could get me in, and that was good because I had done a little bit of experimentation there that morning. I thought the tire place is about 5 minutes away. Let me pump my tire up. I have an air compressor, which if you don't have one, even if it's just one that you plug into your car and pump your tire up with, try to have an air compressor on hand because it's very useful. I was like, I don't want to change this tire out. I don't want to have to take it off and then put the spare on and do all that. Let me pump this baby up. Let me set a timer for 5 minutes and let's see how much air I lose in the 5 minutes. And being that the screw was still in there, I was lucky because it only lost like 5 psi. I went from like 35 to like 29 or something like that. It was still in the 20s. And then I tested after 10 minutes, it was still in the 20s. So I was like, okay, we can most certainly make this run. So when I called him Monday morning, he's like, yeah, you can come in, first thing. So I went in. It took him longer than I expected to get it done, but beggars can't be choosers, and they got me fixed up. It cost me $20. And the nice thing is I was actually I watched a YouTube video on how to plug a tire from like the outside, and it's not that difficult to do. And I could just have taken the truck down to the auto parts store, which is literally across the street from there, and done it myself. But he said the way they do it is they actually patch it from the inside, which is a much better way of fixing it. So I probably would have spent God knows how much just on the plug kit. Probably would have been $10 for that, as opposed to just paying them $20 to fix it. Now I know it's done right because those tires still have a lot of wear left on them, hopefully. So that was a whole adventure. And then I had a whole bunch of other errands to run on Monday too. Cody gave me a whole list. Mrs. Brickatector, she's known in some circles. I love saying that. Anyways, I ended up having to go down to Target to pick some items up for her. She needed some things for the classroom. And she used my Target account, and I have a Target card. And she did like in-store pickup. And I was like, why didn't you just have it shipped to us? It's free shipping. We just delivered here. And she's like, oh, sorry. So I was like, okay, no problem. I'll drive down there and get that for you. Cause I'm such a good husband, obviously. She's like, she comes down, punches me. But I go down there and I pick up her thing. And then I was like, hey, since I'm down here, why don't I stop in over at the Marshall's store that they have? Marshall's, if you don't know what that is, and this is my first time ever going there, it's like TJ Maxx. I think they're part of the same brand or whatever, like Marshall's, TJ Maxx. It's like the same place inside. This place, though, was a lot smaller, and their clearance prices were crazy good. Stuff that I would have never seen at TJ Maxx. I think maybe because our TJ Maxx gets a lot of traffic and it's like a very popular store. This place, looking at all the stuff on clearance and the fact that many items were like clearance down like several times, I'm thinking that they might be heading out of business. We have a very poor track record of any stores lasting in our area because it's such a depressed area economically, and just things just don't do well at all. Our mall's shut down. This is like a plaza they put near the mall that was like the revival of it, and then there's places that go in and out there. Target survives just fine. Our Dick's Sporting Goods moved over there, which is doing just fine, but then like some of the other stores, like we had a Bed Bath & Beyond, I think, or Bath and Body Works, whatever those places are, they went out, and I think we're trying to do like an Old Navy and Gap. I'm not sure if they're still there or not. I don't really shop in any of those places, so I don't know. But anyways, I went into this Marshall's, and I found like an awesome Life is Good hoodie. I love Life is Good quality materials, and these hoodies are typically like $25 at TJ Maxx, which is a good deal versus what they typically charge on their website. Life is Good, that is. And this thing had been clearance down to $10. And it was my size, and it was cool. And I was like, dude. And in fact, I was wearing almost the same hoodie. Mine was just a blue one without any kind of like printing on it. Life is Good. This one had like the Life is Good guy on it with some stars and like him chilling in an Adirondack chair, which I can appreciate. So for $10, I was like, I have to snag. So I snagged. And then I made video of all this. You'll get to watch that, of course. I think that goes without saying in most things I talk about. And I kept looking around there, and then I found this Adidas hat. It was $4. And I'm like, wait a minute. This goes from the realm of me buying because it's cheap to me possibly sourcing items for eBay. So I looked that up and I'm like, heck yeah. So I kept looking around there and there was a variety of things in there. Not quite enough skin on the bone for me to justify buying and put it on eBay just to make a few bucks. Like yard sales are the place to do that. You find something for $1, you sell it for 20 bucks. That's the move that I like. I don't like buying something for 10 and then selling it for 15, even though, people do that and they make money at it. It's sometimes it's not worth the trouble. So there's a lot of opportunity there. I don't know how long that opportunity will exist, but man, I just couldn't believe the clearance. Like the sweatshirt that I had, I looked at the sticker and there had to be at least, there was like a red clear, it was like the regular price and like a red clearance tag, and then maybe another one, and then there was a yellow one, which I'm assuming is like final clearance. So for $10, I got a hoodie that's really nice quality, and it was perfect. So that was a win. Part of me is like, should I list that on eBay? Because I could probably make a few bucks off of it, but I kind of want it for myself. And that's the danger of sometimes buying things, because you're like, oh, I kind of like it for me. So you keep it. But anyways, that was fun. I also did another little excursion that day in preparation for the next day. I bought a new snow shovel. I noticed our old snow shovel had like this metal backing under it, and it like scratched the heck out of our deck. And I was like, I don't want that. So I got like the cheapest shovel I could get that's just straight up plastic without any kind of metal on it. And oh boy, I got the comments from pretty much every old person at Lowe's when I bought that. They're like, oh, it's going to snow tomorrow. Are we going to use that? And, it's one of those things, which is kind of funny. But in fact, funny story with that too is when I was checking out, the attendant there, I won't say cashier because it's all self-checkout, it seems. They've kind of forced you into it at Lowe's. He was like, you could use that tomorrow and then just return it afterwards. I'm like, genius. But yeah, we'll need it in the future. Where we didn't need it though was the next day. They were calling for 9 inches of snow. And this is kind of a similar story to what happened before. 9 inches of snow, school was going to be closed, it was going to be a disaster or whatever. Woke up the next morning and there was like a dusting. There was a 2-hour delay. We didn't get the snow that they had called for. I didn't even use my shovel. The snow melted off of the driveway and the deck and stuff. So I didn't even get to use my brand new shovel. That being said, if I had not bought that shovel, guaranteed we would have got like 2 feet of snow. That would have happened. So you're welcome. You can thank me if you live in Pennsylvania. I bought a snow shovel so you didn't have to shovel. You're welcome. So that was a whole adventure and a couple fun little storylines there that I think are what makes life fun. These little things you get yourself into, and oftentimes it's just a matter of just one being there and like putting yourself out there, and these things come together. I always notice that sometimes, like whenever I'm out somewhere, even if it's just going for a walk and you come across somebody, you talk to somebody, it's like, this happened because I was here. And I know this is like kind of a trippy way of thinking or whatever, but it's like, if I wasn't here, this wouldn't have happened. Or if I didn't put myself here, if I didn't make this decision, I don't know, we're getting like metaphysical here, but I sometimes think about those things when I'm dwelling on other things, right? Anyways, let's move on to some other fun stuff that happened this week. Speaking of buying things to sell, my mother and father-in-law invited me to another estate sale with them, or actually 2 estate sales. Apparently people are dying off here in Pennsylvania. A lot of older folks, and you can tell when you go to these people's houses, their houses are always very outdated, and it's kind of sad to go to these. I mean, I like it because it's a fun adventure. I love going through people's homes because how often do you get to like tour someone's home essentially? And what these estate sales are is you're going through, it's usually family members or a company will host one of these things where someone passed away, the family had gone through, got what they want, and then this is just like essentially like a yard sale, getting rid of like a house sale, or everything in the house selling, like clothing, bedding, collectibles, everything that this person would have owned in their life and that meant so much to them at some point is going for, a few dollars to some random stranger that comes through. And that's the sad part of it. But again, it's a fun adventure getting to go through these houses and looking around and then finding items. And I'm typically just looking for things that I can resell and just having a little bit of an adventure with it. So in this case, we went to 2 houses and I found a total of 3 things. The first place, I found this Canon film camera. That's, just like a point and shoot one that you put film into. I've never actually operated one before. Didn't have a price on it, so I picked it up because I always love getting camera stuff anyway, and it's like one of my little hobbies. So I picked it up, and then I went down and asked the lady how much she wanted for it. I was thinking she would say like $5. She said $2. So I was like, okay, cool. And it goes for like, I think like $30 on eBay. The downside of this is that the battery was dead in it, so I had to buy a battery for it from Amazon, which was $10. But I'm like, Right now it's parts only, I would say, because I can't test it. But if I can put a battery in it, make sure it works, and test it out without putting film in. I don't want to buy film because film is very expensive, and that's why I don't get into doing the film photography. I do like doing the little instant photos. That's what I'm sending people, like the little tiny ones, which are great for fitting in envelopes and like the fact that it develops right away. But to buy rolls of film and then shoot these shots and then have to send it to get developed or take it to I think like Rite Aid and CVS do development possibly. I don't know. It's been so long. Or maybe I think Walmart does it too. I would assume. For how long though? How many people aren't even bothering with that anymore though? Just getting their phone out, taking photos that way, sharing it on Facebook or whatever people do. It's a dying art, very much so. So I'm gonna flip this thing, even with the $10 I invested in it plus the two. I should still do pretty well on it. I don't see it being something that I'm gonna hold on to. I also found this other little collectible thing in a basement. It was like on these decorations tables, and it was this Hallmark scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz, and they had $3 on it. And I looked it up on eBay, and it was selling consistently for like $15. So I was like, hey, that's enough skin on the bone. Wait, what was that? Is it skin on the bone? Meat on the bone. Ooh, skin on the bone sounds disgusting. That's what I'll be after I'm done with keto, hopefully. No. I was like, okay, let's do that. So I bought that for $3, going to sell for 15. Hopefully sell the camera for 20 to 30. Get at least $10 out of that. You know, I'm just out for an adventure with my in-laws more than anything, just having fun. And then the last thing I found was the win of the day. I didn't think it would be this house that we went to. I didn't really find anything in, but they had a table full of these video games. They had or consoles. They had a PlayStation 3, an Xbox 360, or maybe it was a Xbox One S. I don't remember what all the Xbox marks are, but they had those two, which were grossly overpriced. They wanted like $100 for this PlayStation 3. I bought a PlayStation 3 for $5 at a yard sale. Like that's the difference sometimes between an estate sale and a yard sale. Yard sale people are just like, get this out of here. Like I was gonna throw this away or donate it, but if I can get $5 out of it, thank you. Estate sales are like, well, we're hiring this team to come in. We got to try to get as much money as we can out of this stuff. And I was like out on those. And then, but there was this DS there, Nintendo DS. It had like this Nerf case on it, which was pretty chewed up. The bottom screen looked really bad, but I could tell that there was a cover on it and there was a game in it. And I was like, and I opened it up, it said $20. I was like, no way, dude. But I've learned in my life that if you want something, you have to ask, right? So I took it over to the lady and I was like, can you do any better on this? And she's like, well, how about 15? I was like, well, the battery's dead. I don't know if it works. I would do 5. And she was like, okay, I'll take 5. I was like, yes. So that's that. I bought that. Actually, that was the place I got the scarecrow, because there was 2 places. So with the camera at the one place, got the scarecrow and that. So I spent a total of $5 there, or $8, I guess. And when we got out to the car and we're driving to our next destination, which Bud, man, was taking me out for lunch because he found this awesome score there and he was all tickled about it. It was this Radio Shack personal computer from like the 70s. It was just like, it looks like a glorified calculator. He got this thing for like $1 and it goes for like $100 on eBay. And I was mad because not really mad, but mad at myself because I looked at the table it was on and I just kind of passed over it because it just looked like old electronics. And I was like, that's not my thing. My mother-in-law, she knows a lot about a lot of things when it comes to reselling, and she knows jewelry and all this stuff. So she makes out really well at these places, finding like all these great things. She's like, you see this? This is from, like, there was this little coin that she got. She's like, this is a Standing Liberty coin. And I was like, oh. And then she got it like, I think for $1, maybe less. And it's worth, I forget how much. It was like $20 on eBay. So that was something that I wouldn't have known, but she did. And that goes for a lot of stuff. So she's teaching me the ropes there. I'm teaching them how to do the technical side of things. She's teaching me about treasures that you can find. And so Bud was all excited that he found this thing. And I was excited for them too, because they could definitely use the money. And I want to see them succeed. So I was happy that he found it, but mad at myself because obviously, like, had he not taken that, that would have been $100 just sitting there on that table that I walked past. So I got to do better. I got to slow down, really check things out. And just get better at this if this is going to be a thing. Not that I do this, it's not my living, of course, although it is sort of, because let me finish my story about the DS. While we're driving to lunch, I ended up like taking the case of it off, like this Nerf case. It was all chewed up, and it turns out it's a red Nintendo DS Lite, excellent condition because they had a case on it. I peeled off the little screen protector that was on the bottom where you use like the stylus, perfect condition, just a little dusty and dirty and stuff. And later on, I brought it home and cleaned it up, and the thing looks brand new. This is worth probably about $40. I'm probably going to keep it though. I have one other Nintendo DS that I got for free that was at a yard sale that just didn't sell. We were hosting it with a couple other families, and they're like, "Do you want this?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." Came with games and all kinds of stuff. So now I have two DS Lites, which I probably don't need, but I'm kind of a sucker for old video game stuff. It's like I love it. That and cameras, those are my things. And that's kind of like, I think that's what kind of gets me into almost like a tunnel vision when I'm at these places. I'm just looking for things that I know as opposed to seeing what opportunities exist out there. So I need to do better at that if we continue going to these estate sales. And these are just like nice little like holdovers until yard sale season begins. It's what it feels like. And I made a whole video about it. I will say my last estate sale video did not do well on my channel. It was like one of my worst performing videos. So I decided for this one ahead of time, I was like, you know what? I'm going to record a ton of footage from this. I just hit the record button, let it roll. And I was like, you know where this is going to go and who would probably enjoy this quite a bit? Patreon. I'm going to put this as a Patreon exclusive video. I have no idea how long the video is going to be. I probably got an hour or more of footage. I'll try to keep it as long as possible because I think those people are down for the ride, you know. Whereas on YouTube, you feel like, okay, you let this roll a little too long, you're gonna lose people's attention. You know, I'm not like Mr. Beast where every 5 seconds the shot needs to change and you need to yell the whole time. But it's like what you find interesting or like the conversation that you may enjoy or looking around at may not be for everyone. But I've also learned that I make videos for myself. And if other people want to watch them, that's wonderful. But I'm not catering to any particular audience. So I'm not going to change who I am or what I do because of them. You just have to be mindful, though, that maybe someone doesn't want to spend 10 minutes walking through a house looking at items. But then on the other hand, maybe someone does. And maybe that's my audience. So needless to say, this one, because I want to like support the people that support me. I'm putting this as a Patreon exclusive. So if you do want to watch it, that's a great time for my sponsored video message here. Join us on Patreon, exclusive videos, early access. I'll send you a photo taken just for you if you want one. And, we can have some fun over there. I'm really like, I've talked about this at length before up until like deciding to do it. I really do see this as the future for me, as the YouTube algorithm that has favored me for a while. I think it's going to start dying off. And instead of catering to a huge audience of people, I think I need to find those people in the world out of the thousands that have subscribed over the years and continue to do so. I need to find those few people that really want to take this to the next level. So I think that's the move for me as I turn this into maybe something more than just relying on the algorithm gods to provide, you know. So I'm not going to go into that too much because I don't want this to feel like it's some type of crazy ad, but it is a part of my week, in my life, and a part of the story here. So I share it, and my apologies if that's something that gets under your skin, because I know how sometimes that is, where it's like, oh, rich YouTubers begging for money, it's a bunch of crap, you know. I get it. So let's move on beyond that. We'll talk about when I got that stuff home, I decided to go ahead and list it right away. That's my goal. When I get something at a yard sale, it can't just go into the storage room of doom. It needs to get listed. So I listed the stuff that I wanted to list, and I listed the old estate stuff that I hadn't listed, plus some other things. I think I did a total of 10 listings that day. And I felt good about that because I'm building inventory up in the store. Even if stuff doesn't sell right away, which none of the stuff has yet, at least it's out there. And I put best offer on the stuff too, so if somebody comes through. I also changed my eBay name. I had someone ask what my eBay name is. It's Greg's Collection. I changed it to like, I was going to keep it private, but then I noticed someone actually found us. They're like, they left a message like that they bought one of our Hot Wheels. And they're like, we love your channel. And I was like, okay, I need to not have my real address be my return address on here anymore. So I'm using my PO box. And then I just made it, and I was like, since people are finding it anyway, because you could easily do it when I say like, oh, I bought this bright red Nikon camera with the model number, you could find it, right? I was like, let me change the name to something that I can like throw out there. So Greg's Collection. And I put the PO box as my return address just to keep things a little more, a little safer, I guess. And now, the reason that I wasn't sharing it, if you're curious, was because I was worried that someone would buy something from me with the sole intention to give me negative feedback. But I've been doing this on Brickatech, where I've been selling all these things, and a lot of great people have come along, and I get they leave little notes in like the comments and stuff too. for the orders, and it hasn't happened yet. And I feel like if someone wants to actually spend money to hurt me, that speaks more on them than anything. I just don't think someone would go to that length. But your feedback is important, and that's something I worried about. But you know what? It is what it is, and if you can't if you spend your whole life worrying about what other evil things people are going to do to you or in the world, like what kind of life is that? So, I thought if I find something at an estate sale or at a yard sale that someone likes, I mean, they're going to know that I got it for $1 and maybe it's worth 20, but if it's worth $20 to them and they would like it, maybe they buy it. And maybe there's something special about it coming from somebody that you watch on YouTube. But I need to make a note, like I need somebody, like if you're going to buy something, if you're listening to this, I need to know if you're a viewer or not. Because if you are, I might have a little something special to throw in there. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to do that for a stranger, but since we're friends, I want to give you something more than just your product. Plus I'll put a little extra bubble wrap on there because we got to keep it good for you. Anyways, Greg's collection on eBay. I don't have much on there right now. We got to list some more things. The Brickatech store also getting beasted up. That's my week in Lego. Ended up doing a little bit of everything. In fact, the video came out. If you're listening to this on Sunday, it would have came out yesterday of all the things that we get into. Did everything. Did a mock last week. That was a Patreon thing. We did some selling, some organizing, some sorting, some building, did a haul. Like it's every Lego video in one. And I really am enjoying the style of doing these weekly videos. I do think that it probably is detrimental to my channel not showing up all the time, but I love the idea of just putting out one of these like 30-minute videos. It feels like a whole darn episode. And if I do this throughout the entire year, and I say I have 52 of those, although some weeks we might not have any because I'd like to go on vacation if I could, so that there might be, let's just say, let's round down. Let's say there's 48 videos in a series called Our Lego Journey 2024. How amazing will that be for someone to stumble on someday where it's just like an entire playlist full of an entire year of someone enjoying a hobby? I just think that's really cool. Will anyone find it? Who knows? That depends on the YouTube algorithm gods, but I don't know. I think it's something special, and it feels right, and it feels good to me, and it's what my audience, when I pulled them, it's what they wanted, and the videos have been doing well. So I think I'm going to keep going. I think I'm going to keep doing that, and it keeps me motivated and on track too, because it's like when you are committing to making a video each week, I need to have something to show for it, right? I can't just be like, oh, sorry guys, didn't do anything this week. See you next one. It's like I gotta keep moving. Got to keep progressing and moving forward, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm loving it. Clark and I even got a little bit of stuff done too. We did those mocks together. We built a Batman set, had a really fun time. I recorded like a 20-minute clip of us just building that, and I thought maybe that would be a good Patreon exclusive too. I mean, there's little parts of it in the Lego video, but I consider it behind the scenes. So we got that, and I'm realizing there's so much like stuff that people would probably enjoy that kind of just goes and gets deleted, So why not turn that into something? Because I know someone out there would enjoy it. That's my thoughts on that. Another Clark news, the thing that we're loving doing and that he's obsessed with and I'm happy with is Mario Kart. He's been into Mario Kart so hard this past week or two, and we've been playing an extreme amount, maybe even longer than that. We've been playing an extreme amount of Mario Kart, and I'm just loving playing with him. It's crazy how good he's getting. Like, there's times where he's better than I am now, and I'm just like, dude, how did this happen? It's sort of like that progression when he went from sitting there playing with like Lego tires on the table to building his first Lego Creator 500-piece set, and you're just like, when did this happen? How is this possible? So that's fun. He's also, another Clark news, he's also working on some poetry right now. In the past, like he got inspired yesterday, and while I was editing up the Lego video, I heard him in the office writing, and I was like, what are you doing in there, buddy? And he's like, I'm working on something, I'm writing. Then he comes out and reads me this poem that I think he's going to try to turn into a rap song. He wants to do a video, and I'm just like, dude, I'm all about it. So if you want to do it, let's get it done. Cody's thrilled as an English teacher. She got him like this book that has like different rhyme words in it, and she's like fully invested. So it's awesome to see that. And I feel like I haven't filmed any part of it because I feel like it's kind of a private process, but I thought, man, if we were to film the behind the scenes of this and share it with the world, that is, maybe that can inspire some other little kids out there, because I know there's youngsters that look up to Clark, man. And I'm like, what if they saw him writing? What if they saw him working on this project that he's like trying to make this song or poem or whatever it is? Maybe that would encourage another kid out there to maybe start doing that. Who knows how that could impact him? There's a lot of forces in our entertainment, and sometimes they can be positive, which is what I try to put out, and sometimes they can be negative. Even if they're not intending to be negative, they can have a negative effect on us. So I don't know. It could be a worthwhile thing. One last Clark news. Yesterday, I'm recording this on a very rare Saturday morning because yesterday Clark and I had to go to the doctor. As you know, he's been sick a little bit lately, and right when he got over having the flu, which I think the doctor said he has influenza B, he started getting this cough, and it just wasn't going away. So I took him to the doctor yesterday, and it turns out that he has mycoplasma pneumonia, which sounds worse than it is, but his airways are all plugged up. He got like an inhaler thing, which I've never done before. He's never done. So we had to, like, the lady at the pharmacy actually came out and like taught us how to use this, which I thought was really sweet. And then he's on some medicine as well that he has to take once a day. So it's been a whole journey. I talked to the lady at the receptionist at the doctor, and she's like, there's kids coming in like week after week. Like one kid had like 3 things back to back to back, and it's just going around the school systems. And this is transmittable. It's contagious. So we were going to go to a birthday party for his buddy today, but obviously don't want to go there and get everybody sick, and Clark's coughing and stuff. So we're not going to do that. I'm hoping that Cody and I don't get it. He said it does travel within families. So if you don't hear from me next week, you'll know what happened. But so far I've survived all of Clark Man's, knock on whatever table's made of. I've survived it. Cody is too. And we haven't gotten sick from him, but geez Louise. Let's wrap this up with, let's talk about my movies of the week, and then we'll wrap it up with the keto update. I watched a very eclectic mix of movies this week. I was just kind of perusing around, and the first movie that I watched, based on I guess, Super Bowl, not this year's Super Bowl, but the one before that, was the movie Kelsey, which is about, is it Jason and Travis? I know Travis is the popular one. He's dating Taylor Swift, but this movie is about the unpopular Kelsey brother, Jason. I hope that's his name. If it's not, don't come at me, because it's just called Kelsey, and it's about like his story, his life story, and leading up to the Super Bowl where he went against his brother and ultimately lost. But he did have a Super Bowl win under his belt. Looking back, I kind of do wish that he would have won that Super Bowl versus his brother. He played for the Eagles, by the way. And I thought about that time when they were playing that game. I remember what I was doing when they were playing that game. I was sitting out on my patio having some lunch, looking at the Pacific Ocean in the pool in Maui when they were playing that game, and that just brings back great memories. I was like, I'd rather be where I was than where you were, to be honest. But he lost that game. I wish he would have won, because then the Chiefs won again this year, so they would have had he could have went out like a champion, like Elway style. But and then obviously Travis had another chance, and probably will have many more chances if Ronnie's listening. He's hoping so. But it was a good story, and I love like almost like memoirs, like life stories. And in fact, I listened to a book. I finished a book this week. It's called I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. She's from the show iCarly, a show that I've never really watched, but I know of. But the title of this intrigued me, and the whole story, it's a best-selling book. It's about her life story as a child actress and how her mom basically mentally, physically, sexually abused her throughout her entire life. And just all the stuff that she went through, but still like somehow came out normally, even though she'd battled with bulimia and alcoholism. She still resents acting and hated the show that she was on. She turned out okay, but it shows you like how powerful like your family life experiences growing up and the traumas that you endure and how you cope with those. And she just thought her life was normal to have her mom like bathing her when she was 17 years old and stuff. And it was just wild to listen to. But I listened to that while I was doing my Lego thing. And I still have one more Audible credit. So if you have any book recommendations for me, I tend to like nonfiction books the most because I like to try to get something from them. But sometimes it is nice getting lost into a world of imagination. So, I'll figure out what my next Audible thing's going to be. But that was the Kelsey movie. I also watched another movie with another name. This one was called Megan. And oh my gosh, this movie was crazy. It's about this inventor who comes up with these little Furby type toys or whatever, and then you can talk to them and they interact and things. But then she wanted to take it to the next level, so she made this realistic like looking girl that's a android like robot doll thing. that she then uses to help her niece who's getting through a death in her family. Like her parents died, so their inventor lady took her on, and she's never had any kids and is not in the world of caretaking. So this doll essentially becomes her best friend and mother. But then the doll Megan starts getting a little crazy and starts doing some things, including murder, that wasn't necessarily programmed for. But it was kind of about how AI can kind of think of Terminator, only instead of it being Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's instead a 3 foot tall girl named Megan. It's a doll. It was on Amazon Prime. Watch at your own risk. Don't watch with kids. It's a little brutal. It's definitely an R-rated movie. We'll talk more about AI here in a second, but I watched another interesting movie this week. This one was on Paramount Plus as a part of Showtime, and it was called The Whale, starring Brendan Fraser. And it's about, and this one, oh my gosh, it was really well done. It's about him as a morbidly obese, probably like 600-700 pound guy that's like homebound, and his lover ended up dying, and he got depressed and like kind of found food as his only answer. And he basically was eating himself to death, and it's about him and the people around him and how they are either helping or hindering him, and like the just what he's dealing with. And it's so crazy to see how well Brendan Fraser did in this role. Like I really truly would believe he is that person. Like just I guess the makeup and the suit that they put on him, and the way that he's struggling for air and just to do any like activity in life. It was just so sad to see. So very, very depressing movie. I didn't cry. I was looking at the subreddit on it because I always like to see what other people think. It's kind of like a discussion board, and lots of people are saying they're tearing up at the end of it and stuff. No spoiler alerts here, and I know I don't do a good job with these movie reviews, but I would watch that one if you can take it, if you can handle it. Again, it's definitely a downer. So I watched a documentary, a scary slash maybe comedy movie, and then a drama like downer movie. Those were the things that I watched. And then even more scary things. We talked about Megan with her AI. I saw this thing yesterday that was about Sora, who is from OpenAI. And you know how Chat GPT, I think most people know what that is, where it exists in a way to, you can type a text response in, or text inquiry, or whatever it is. Like you type text into Chat GPT and then it delivers what you want. So you can say, Chat GPT, give me a review for my podcast of the movie The Whale. And then it would return a thing, which I should have probably used for this. I could have helped you with that. Now, with Sora, you type in something like that, or whatever prompt you want. A prompt is what I'm looking for, and it returns a video, up to 1 minute video that's completely AI generated, which is both awesome and very scary at the same time, because we're at the point now where I could type in, video of Joe Biden shooting someone or something. This is like an extreme example, and it makes that video, and then you post it online, and it's like, did that actually happen? Is that real? I mean, you won't be able to trust anything anymore. And it's not perfect yet, but it sure as heck is progressing really quickly. And it really makes me kind of concerned for our future, like just AI in general, and like our reliance on it. Also, I mean, you have the Apple Vision Pro, how we're all going to apparently exist inside of our glasses or headsets, and like the human element from everything. Like right now I'm into taking those photos, right? Photos, even right now, you can generate a photo of anything. Will photos mean anything? Will there be photographers anymore? Why would you hire a photographer when you can just have AI take a picture of a beautiful sunset for you? Why would you pay an artist for anything? Why would a YouTuber exist? Why would actors exist in general? Like, I would like a movie about Superman fighting Batman called Batman versus Superman, and Wonder Woman appears. Like, you could write that all out, and then the movie, or the Sora just generates that and makes the whole movie for you. And then you don't even have to hire voice actors or anything. You can just type every line into it, and like once it gets to the point where it can do audio, and then just have AI make everything. It has access to every voice that's ever been done. All you have to do is just crawl YouTube, and you could, I mean, there is one really cool part of this I was thinking about. It's kind of morbid. I always wondered, like, what happens to my channel when I die? Like, I've always thought about this, like, should I have a video prepared? Like maybe make a new video every year that's like, hey, if you're watching this, it means that I died. and there will be no more content on here unless Clarkman takes over. Maybe that's the play. Clarkman, keep my channel alive for me, buddy. But now, I have 12, 13 years of video content out there that has every angle of my face and body, and every word that I've ever said could be analyzed, that to the point where eventually you could probably make my channel and I can make really awesome videos doing pretty much anything because it's all AI generated. I can make a Mr. Beast video. I could give away $100 million yacht to somebody. It's just crazy to think like what this is capable of and how extremely dangerous this is too. I hate to be like a naysayer, like I'm sure when cars were invented, people were like, no, cars are too scary. We got to ride horses forever. Then it's like, okay, I get it. Or, it's like anytime new technology kind of breaks through, I'm sure the same thing happened with like the iPhone. People are like, oh, it's too expensive. People want keyboards. People want to be able to dial numbers on their phone. They want to be able to flip it open, which I guess we're kind of going back to a little bit now. But, and even the Apple Vision Pro is like that too, where people are like, this is going to be a failure. No one's going to want this. Well, you just wait. Right now, we're at the very beginning of this. Just imagine what version 2, 3, 4, 5 is going to look like as it gets smaller and eventually becomes a pair of glasses that's indistinguishable from your prescription lenses that you would wear, but it has all the computer information in there and you don't look crazy wearing it. We'll eventually get there. Will humanity exist long enough for that to happen, though? It's the only thing I question. Like, there's a big part of this that just makes me want to like rebel against it entirely. Like, I'm literally just going to be like, let's buy our land, let's go live off grid, and let's pretend none of this is happening. Like, I'm really at that point. But then there's another part of me, it's like, we're living in incredible times right now. I just don't, it's just, I think the scariest thing of it all is just propaganda in general and how people can be moved. I mean, you see how it happens just with cable news. And we won't get into politics here, of course, but with cable news, you can be swayed one way or another just by listening to someone talk for an hour. Imagine what a very powerful video of anything, like the example I gave earlier, it could be anything. Imagine what that could do, even if it's not real. And maybe even people know it's not real. Once that starts getting shared on Facebook, Instagram, wherever, what's real and what's not real at that point, So it'd be a good conversation starter, though, for listener feedback for next week, which we'll get into this week for last week's episode, if that makes any sense. Starting with Janelle, the keto thing ended up being a big topic. So she says, and I love Janelle here because she feels like my mom that I never had. She says, love the school photo, as did my grandson. Be careful with cutting out carbs, as they are important. Cutting back too much can stress your liver and kidneys. Don't go overboard on protein either, as that puts stress on your kidneys too. I did both and my doctor wasn't happy with me. Excessive protein stressed my kidneys to the point of stage 2 disease. Yeah, and that's the problem with my cheat foods, I guess. Like I can eat steaks, I can eat hamburgers, I can eat sausages, I can eat cheese. All these things have lots of protein in them, no carbs, but they're also not so good for your heart. And, like the fat, like living off of fat on the keto diet is a thing, right? Like protein's fat's good. Is it though? Like short term it is. I should tell you, my keto update, I forgot to give that to you. 11 days in, I'm down 4.6 pounds. I am happy with that progress, but also disappointed with the whole keto system. And the reason I say that is I was expecting to feel somewhat different on this diet. Like I've heard stories of people having like this clarity of mind and feeling energetic and feeling so different. I feel no different. That's not to say that I was feeling bad before. I just feel good. I feel good in general. Like I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. Like I see Cody made buffalo chicken dip last week. I had a little bit of that, which, there's some carbs in that. I didn't have it with any chips. I ended up finding these cheese wraps at Aldi. We were going to get a listener feedback. Let's talk keto. I almost skipped it, which would have been a tragedy. Found these cheese wraps. It's just like imagine a wrap, but instead of it being made of like flour, like a tortilla, it's just cheese. So I put buffalo chicken dip in that and wrap that up. I also made hamburgers like that this week. The cheese kind of melts though when you put something hot in it, so be advised. I also found these egg wraps that are no carbs. And like that's what I love about this is that I'm finding alternatives to things I would have eaten before and also finding the truth about the foods I was eating. Like there's these little bars that I would have as like a snack after dinner. Have some milk in this little bobo bar or whatever. 27 grams of carbs in there. So I'm like, no, that's not worth it, right? Like if you're trying to keep your carbs like under 50 ideally, I was trying to keep it as close to 0. If I see something that has more than 1 gram of carb in it, I'm out, right? So like not great. The only downside that I've found from this is when I did the elliptical one day this week, I was gassed afterwards. Like I had lost all my energy, and I think that's because my body was trying to get used to not having those carbs to actively pull from. Obviously, the weight's going down, but like I don't feel any different, and I'm kind of bummed about that. Like I was thinking I'd like transcend, like I'd now be levitating. Maybe not that far, but I was like, man, I'm gonna feel great. But I think maybe that only works with people that are feeling bad before. You know what I mean? Like, say you have some type of problem with sugar, or if you have issues with gluten and you cut out wheat and stuff because you don't want the carbs, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I feel great. That probably happens. Obviously, the weight's coming down pretty drastically, 4.6 pounds in today's day 12. That's pretty decent, right? Like that's nice. In fact, I'm right now, I am a total of, I think 14 pounds from my like fighting weight. If I was just like the super leanest, like lowest fat, 14 pounds. So I don't know if this will continue. I lost 2.6 the first week, 1.4 the second week, if we're like adding them up. Like I think from the last time I reported. So even at like 1 or 2 pounds a week, this is going to happen very quickly. And obviously, I'm not going to need to be this hardcore. This is just more for me as an experiment than anything. I was just very curious to see what would happen. And again, I'm kind of outside of losing the weight, I'm kind of disappointed in the results. I think I could have had the same thing happen if I really wasn't focused on the carbs, but I was just looking at nutrition labels. In fact, I might even be better off because I have a hot sausage that's 0 carbs. Wonderful. How much fat? How much calories is in that? And I wasn't really too worried about that because I'm like, I'm not eating the chips for snack at night. I'm like, I'm a salty snacker. I don't care about the sweet stuff really. I like eating chips and salty foods, but then I'm having beef jerky, as like my snack. And it's like, dude, that sodium in there is super high. So then I'm super thirsty. I'm drinking a lot of water. I'm waking up and having to go to the bathroom middle of the night, something I never had to do before. So I'm going to keep doing it because obviously it's getting me to my goal, something that I wasn't doing before. But again, I think it's just a matter of looking at nutrition labels and deciding in that moment, is this worth it? And I think you need to look at more than just, does this have 0 carbs? Does this have 1 gram of carbs? You need to be like, wow, that's 400 calories. There's 30% of your fat for the day is in this one sausage link. Do I want to eat that? I know it's no carbs, and like on my diet, I could eat tons of these, right? But it's still calories in, calories out. And I think just skipping out on any kind of drinks that have calories, like even milk, I'm not drinking because I saw there's carbs in it. So I'm like, I'm out on milk. Again, I take everything to the extreme. This is an experiment. I will continue with the experiment. I'm not going to tap out now, obviously, because it's not negatively like affecting my life. Like you would think cutting out carbs, some of you would be like, I can never do that. I love cereal. I love, now I can't think of anything with carbs in it. Name any delicious thing you've eaten. It probably has carbs in it. I can't live without that. I'm fine, dude. Like this is not a struggle for me. It's just it's a challenge, and it's something that I enjoy. Like I love creating these things for me. That's why I do YouTube, and why I'm not going to say good at it, but it's like if I decide I want to make a video every week about my Lego journey, I'm going to make a video every week about my Lego journey, and nothing's going to stop me. It's that kind of motivation and self-determination that makes you successful in life. What do I say? You got to show up and you got to be consistent. That's all I'm doing with this. I'm just showing up when I eat, and I'm like, okay, we're not going to have a donut. We're going to have some eggs for breakfast, or we're going to have a protein shake. And I think that's making the difference. And I think I could keep this going like forever if I wanted to. What will the long-term health effects be of this? I can't imagine that it would be good. I think my cholesterol is going to go through the roof. Maybe my blood pressure goes up. There's going to be, Janelle mentioned kidney issues. I could see all of that happening because that's a lot to process. Whereas if you just were like, I'm going to have some carbs, but I'm not going to have the donut. I'm obviously not going to have that donut, but I'm going to have some cereal. No big deal. Like having some cereal for breakfast. I'm going to go get on the elliptical. I'm going to go take the dog for a walk. Like you can get around these things where you don't have to suffer. Like when we went out for lunch, old me, here's an example. Old me, before I started this, wouldn't even have thought anything about getting like a sandwich with like bread and fries and a soda. I would have done all that while we were out because it's like, we're having fun. Budman got some onion rings. I skipped those. I got a chef salad. And that was a much better decision. But the reason that I made that better decision is because I'm doing keto. And I was like, well, okay, let's think about the carbs. But maybe instead of thinking about carbs, just think about like, okay, what's the caloric impact of this going to be? I'm going to eat 1,000 calories on this delicious Reuben sandwich with French fries and soda, or do I have a water and salad? And I was happy when I left there with my decision. It made me feel good. So like those type of decisions, I think are going to lead me to where I want to get to. And the reason I was so stagnant for so long, in fact, even kind of dropping backwards, was simply because I wasn't thinking about those things. I was doing the walks, I was going to the gym and stuff, but the way you win is through diet. And it doesn't necessarily need to be extreme keto like I'm doing, where I'm like 2 grams of carbs in that. Nope, not having that. It can just be, I'm not going to have dessert today. I'm not going to eat that cherry pie. Okay? Easy decision to make. There's 400 calories that you missed out on. And if you're under your calories for the day, or if you just didn't take those on, you're either going to maintain or you're going to lose. It's as simple as that. Not to say that I have all the answers, but that's my observations after 12 days of doing keto. 11 total so far. Anyways, let's move on to the next one. From Zero, he says, Mr. Greg, another great stream. Thank you. He says, I tried keto for 3 months and then had a doctor's appointment, and she was not happy with me doing it. It did work, though. Lost close to 10 pounds. I found religion really helped me with my diet. Eating halal or kosher really makes you read labels. Like you said, with reading labels, it makes me realize the garbage I was eating before. With golfing, some courses let you rent clubs. Safe way to see if you like it. Maybe talk with the father-in-law into going. Thanks for making my workday a little easier. Loving the 1 hour episodes. Hey, we're doing our best for you here. This one might be going a little over, my friend. I would love to take my father-in-law golfing. He's golfed before, but he's got such a bad back. And I think, like, I've talked to him about it, and he has a real issue with people at like country clubs and stuff. I don't know if something happened. Again, we talk about traumas that happened in our past. I don't know if he just has like something against him, but my father-in-law definitely isn't the person you would picture at the golf club, right? Or holding a golf club, unless he's hitting like a deer with it as he's out in the woods. I don't know. That was weird. But he's more of like a hunter than a golfer. I'd like to go and just pay for a lesson. Just say, hey, this is my first time. Let's go out for an hour. You show me the club, show me around. Let's hit a few balls and let's see what it's like. And then if we vibe and I like the guy, then let's do it. It would be a commitment of time and money, but it could also be some good content too. I could go out there with the GoPro strapped to my head, make some golf videos. I think that'd be real fun. Or better yet, I just have like the microphone on, have the wireless mic on, set the camera up on like the area behind where I'm hitting, and then you could see everything and can make a whole day out of that. I think that'd be great. As for eating halal or kosher, I'd love to look into that. See what obviously I don't know much about that, what foods you can or can't eat, but ultimately, like reading labels, hey, that's what we just talked about, right? Like getting that information is sometimes ignorance is bliss, right? And you'd rather just not know. But when you start staring down those calories and you start looking at the carbs, the fat, all that stuff, you start to think like, is this worth it? And maybe if you just make that decision with every food you eat, is this worth it? Or even if you start tracking it, because then you're really accountable. That's a pain in the butt. I thought about doing it, but I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to track that I put a pepperoni, a piece of ham, and a piece of provolone onto my salad that I made, and then try to put that in there. And I made some dressing using oil and vinegar. That sounds like a pain. But if you actively look at the label and you're like, not worth it to me. Maybe something is worth it. Maybe you just went through a whole day and you came home and that darn cookie is the only thing you had to look forward to all day. By all means, eat that darn cookie. Just don't eat 17 of them. That's where I get into trouble. Like, I take a bag of chips in the living room, I'll eat that whole bag of chips, and that's just not good. It's not. So, good tips there, though. Next one comes from Matt's Hungry. Perfect. He says, hey, Greg, hope you're doing good. I hope we get to see you more one-liners throughout your different video channels. I'll try some. I got 2 Home Alone quotes in during our day out to the estate sales, which you'll be able to watch, Matt, because I know you're a patron. He says, it's really funny when you say these things in front of your family and friends. I used to do the keto diet. Oh, I have my father-in-law saying Sugar Shack now, which is fun, too. I heard him say it. I'm like, He says, one thing I think that'll help you through all your weight loss journey, even though you don't look overweight or unhealthy. Now, I'm not like unhealthy by any means. I did my blood pressure yesterday when we were at Rite Aid, and it was like 100 over 50 something, which if anything, that's kind of low. Maybe I'm dying. My pulse was 55, which was also low. Low pulse, low blood pressure. Let's see what happens after I eat nothing but meats for an entire month. Blood pressure, going up. Cholesterol, my heart's hurting. It's crying for help. I don't know. I think the best diet, Cody and I have talked about this, is the Mediterranean diet, which is kind of like keto. It's high in fats, but it's like more of a balanced thing with vegetables and maybe less meats and things. Anyways, he says, is One thing that'll help me is Rebel brand ice cream. Very low carb, sometimes 1 carb per pint. That's my cutoff. He says, try regular chocolate or triple chocolate flavors. Yum. And I like my regular GNC 1-a-day vitamins. Good luck, Greg, to you and your family always. I do need a good multivitamin. I need a chewy one. We have these nasty ones that are just the worst, and I don't take them for that reason. They're like these big horse pills that leave this terrible taste in your mouth. I need like the kids ones that taste like cherry or strawberry flavored or whatever, grape flavored. Ice cream, like I got a half gallon of ice cream from the store, and it didn't like even. It's the sweet stuff isn't something that really attracts me. It's the salty stuff, potato chips. I look at like our snack drawer cabinet, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't even look at those. I can't even be around it. But sometimes you do need something sweet. Have I even had any sweets? I had a bite of Cody's banana bread that she made, which had some carbs in it. I'm sure, I don't know the amount, but I wanted to just try it, and that was good. But yeah, I don't miss it. It's crazy. I don't. And for sodas, I'm just the only soda. Like if I need a carbonated thing, I have Zevia, which I looked and it is like free of everything. I'm sure there's some catch, but that's my little carbonated treat that I have for myself every once in a while. Outside of that, I'm just drinking water, which I think is good. And I've been drinking more water doing this. Maybe because of the salty foods and things that I've been eating, but I've been drinking more water than ever before. So I don't think I'm losing water weight necessarily. If anything, I think I'm probably retaining it. Thank you for the comments and the advice, though, guys. If I do need ice cream, I guess I'll go with Rebel brand. We'll see if we can get a sponsorship on the channel after I convert to entirely a diet channel. Next one comes from Witty Doggo. He says, "Hola, Señor Greg. Hola. ¿Cómo estás?" I took 4 years of Spanish. That's where I went. I hope all is well with you and your family. I was so thrilled that you read my comment on your podcast. It really made my day. Thank you so much. I am just thrilled to be a part of this amazing, loyal community you built here on YouTube. By the way, I give you carte blanche to read any of my comments in the future. I'm totally fine with it. Thank you. Because if it ends up on my channel, it's fair game, I feel like. He says, another note, when it comes to content that I subscribe to on YouTube, well, it's pretty arbitrary. I love content that some people may consider boring, and I love content that some people may consider extreme. That's just the way my brain works. Been there. The only things on this planet that I cannot stand on media and in general are politics and religion. I sincerely believe those two subjects are just extremely negative and stressful and pretty much divide us as a human race, and that's not cool. No truer words have ever been spoken on this podcast. It says, anyway, I really do enjoy your content. I hope I'm not the only human being who loves your personality. Stay positive, Greg. We're all made of stars. Oh my gosh. I need to end the podcast on that. Siri, remind me of that. I love that though. Thank you so much for being a part of our community and for the kind words that helped my heart. In contrast to what the keto diet's doing to it. Next comes from Jay's Hobby Reviews, a repeat offender, and some would consider a survivor. He says, hey, Greg, did you catch the Super Bowl? Dude, I was enjoying watching the Super Bowl, and we ended up going to bed. We have a pretty early bedtime. Clarkman goes to bed around 9. Cody gets up at like before 5 o'clock in the morning, so we're bed early. I usually stay up on my iPad, watch things here and there. I was watching the Super Bowl, and then I was like, I'm just going to rest my eyes. I was out. I woke up like right at the end when they were like celebrating the win, so I missed the whole thing. But then I noticed the next day, NFL put out a 22-minute video with all the highlights, and I'm like, wow, 22 minutes could have saved me 5 hours or whatever. But it was fun. My favorite part was watching Ronnie celebrate the Chiefs win. He's a big fan, and it made my day. He says, I don't watch sports, but mostly enjoy the commercials and halftime show. Yeah, Usher, I watched the halftime show. Usher was out there killing it. I was like, man, that dude, he was popular 20 plus years ago, and he's out there still killing it. I was proud of him. Not that he needs me to be proud of him. He says, spoiler alert, it wasn't great this year. Talking about the commercials or halftime show. Maybe both. Thank you for another interesting podcast. It's strange to see how you had issues with Made for Kids, but I see many family channels that don't seem to have issue, or at least haven't been addressed, so I'm not sure how that works entirely. Yeah, I don't want to be like Mr. Bitter Pants here, but there's this guy that gets recommended in my feed that his content, it's like him and his son, kind of like what we do, but it's way over the top. Like they got the little cutesy music playing in the background. You can tell the guy's like hamming it up for the kid, and they're doing like toy things. And I'm just like, how is this not made for kids? I'm getting harassed on videos where it's just like Clark being in them, and like we're just having, like, I talk to him like I talk to you, obviously. We're not going nuts and being over the top and dramatic and, having like the the music and all the nonsense that make up kids channels, but his seems to be just fine. And it's a huge channel, so I'm wondering if maybe if you get some sway with YouTube and you have like a partner manager or whatever. I had one for a brief period of time, but then like once everything went made for kids, they bailed. Maybe you can get away with stuff, but I'm just like, this just seems unfair because my content isn't tailored to kids, but I have a kid in it. That's the only thing. Like if you eliminated Clark from the equation, nothing about my channel would ever make anyone think that kids would want to watch this. But families do and kids do, so obviously like there is some of that there. And I think having a kid in the video obviously like it draws the attention of kids. But I like to think that we make content that's for families that everyone can enjoy, whether it's the mom, the dad, the kid, the dog, maybe watching Roxy Bear. You never know. They got their chickens lined up on a perch watching our channel because they see ours. I don't know. I'm being crazy. Anyways, he says your topic on motivation definitely inspired me to focus on goals for my own channel. I've encouraged others, such as friends and family, to start a channel while not even focusing much on my own. Hope you have a great week and thanks for the positive podcast. That's all we can ask for, man. Good luck on your channel. Just do what you love. Love what you do. Life is good. Anyways, next one comes from Lane, who says, hey, Greg, another great podcast episode. Hey, a couple people in this world thought it was a great show. Thank you. Appreciate that. This one, we're going long today, boys. It says, your school profile picture story reminded me of something that happened to me this week, so I thought I'd share it. I got called to the office for some unexcused absences. Okay, Lane, we got to talk about this. If you're going to be gone from school, you can't be skipping. You got to have an excuse. He says, I sat down waiting for the assistant principal to talk to me about it. While I was waiting, an old guy walked in the office and said he needed to use the bathroom. And then he walked into the school to use the bathroom, even though the lady at the front desk said he can't do that. I'm pretty sure we went to the bathroom, and then when he came back, he was talking to the lady, and he said as he was leaving, but then almost walked back into the school. But then the lady said, that's not the door to leave out of. So he went to the other door and just walked out. Pretty weird. Just thought I'd share the experience I had this week. Thanks for the great episode to start my week. Yeah, it's very bizarre. Like sometimes I'm picturing like the guy driving down the road and he's like, oh boy, I got to find a bathroom. A school wouldn't necessarily be the place for you to go to do that. Maybe you pull over at Dunkin' Donuts, you pull into a McDonald's, Burger King, whatever the case is, fast food ideally. Maybe you just pull off and run into the woods. I don't know. Going into the school though, odd. Maybe it was though, I'm going to throw another possibility out to you. Grandfather just dropped his grandkid off for school. And you're saying old guy. Could have been my age. You're saying old guy here. You drop your kid off and you're like, oh boy, that coffee do be hitting right now. And then you're like, I'm going to park the car. I'm going to run in there and we got to make things happen. So I'm thinking maybe that was the case. But who knows? Maybe it was just, maybe he's a jogger. He was jogging down the road and he's like running past the school and he's like, oh no, bad things do be happening. If you get my drift. Anyways, we'll never know the story of the old man in the school, but we can all speculate. But I'm thinking it's probably something like that. Next one comes from Easy Bricks. He says, great podcast, Greg. Wow, I'm seeing a trend here. I've been binge watching a lot of your podcast episodes this past week. Sorry to hear that. While I'm playing Minecraft or building Lego. My question is, how long do you see yourself doing YouTube? When you're eventually done, will you pass your channel down to Clark? It's funny, we kind of talked about that. Well, I don't see myself quitting YouTube anytime soon. Even without this being something that I do for a living, I love shooting, editing, and posting videos. I just love every aspect of it. It's so rewarding. It's encouraging. It's like my outlet. And I love it so much that I don't see myself doing this. Like I don't see myself retiring from YouTube. I know that's like a big thing lately, but I think some of those people, it just gets to the point where you're so big and you, instead of being a video creator and doing the thing you love, you end up becoming like a manager of a channel, and you got all these employees and people relying on you and the stress and pressure of that. Me, I don't quite feel that because I know that I have my family. I've got my wife who has a very steady job as a teacher. She holds her health insurance. So I don't feel the stress of the economic side of YouTube. I don't have a team of anyone but myself. I'm always been, and I thrive in the position of being like the lone wolf. I'm an introvert that loves being alone, and these days where I'm able to work on things just fills me with so much energy and joy that I just love doing this. The only thing that concerns me is someday, like, will my audience still be there? Will anyone still watch? And like from a financial side of things, like I hope so, but that's why I'm building things outside of that where, if the thousands aren't there and it's just the tens or the dozens or the hundreds of us, that's enough for me to continue doing what I love to do uh, for existing in this world. So I'd see myself doing this forever. Clarkman, as far as is his thing, he already has his own channel, Clarkman1215. Check it out on the YouTubes. Will he take over my channel? Maybe, but why do that when he has his own? I think his channel, I think, will one day be bigger than mine. I'm going to put that out there now. It's sort of like when you had Sears and you thought Sears was going to be like the future, and then places like Walmart, Amazon, they come in and just like stomp out the old tech and bring in with the new. And I think that's probably what'll happen. Next one comes from Sam. You guys know him. He says, hope he didn't say great podcast, so he wasn't liking this one. I'm just kidding. He says, I hope you and your family are healthy and well. Well, we're doing as best as we can. It sucks that Clark has to be sick over that weekend and now again. He says, I normally complain when my sickness happened midweek, but now I see that's maybe a blessing in disguise. Actually, our class as a whole hasn't really been sick as of late, so I hope that's a good sign for things to come. Good news. He says, I used to go nuts in American Truck Simulator. That's kind of like my game right now. He says, I tried getting back into it a month or so ago. My gaming PC seems to be biting the dust when it comes to gaming use. It's weird, though, because it seems to crash faster playing that than Forza 5, which is much bigger, much more technologically advanced game. Yeah, I don't know. I have it maxed out and my computer is okay. Mine's just like one I bought from Best Buy a couple years ago. He says, when I was an 8th grader, I listened to Call the Wild on Audible for a book report that I had to do. I don't remember a thing about it from 3 years later. Must mean that was insignificant to me. I don't remember much of what I did in middle or high school either, to be honest. There was one book, though, that I loved. I actually reread as an adult. It's called The Giver. If you ever get a chance to read a book, I don't know, maybe Acquired Taste. The Giver is a really great book. It's also a movie. If you want to save the time, you can watch The Giver, the movie. He said I could skip this paragraph, but this one is about him buying a new car. And he's a Toyota enthusiast, but you'll never guess what kind of car he bought. He traded his Tacoma for a brand new Subaru Forester Wilderness in crystal white pearl, and he absolutely loves it. How about that? The Subaru fan base is growing. He says, you really wasn't kidding when I said I love the car you have. It kind of feels like I've been lying to you about my cars because of how quickly all this happened, but I should send you a picture of it. Heck, I might even put the Bricktech sticker on the back of it. Hey! Now, fear not, because I still have my 4Runner and my Camry. This dude has like 63 cars. Let's just be honest. He gave up a Tacoma. He's still got a 4Runner. Like, come on, man. He just wasn't in need of the truck anymore, so I turned it into something practical. Okay, that's it for car stuff. Just wanted to tell you. Hope you finish out this week strong, and may next week bring blessings to you, your family, and your friends. Live every day like it's your best, and I'll see you next week. That's not the last one, though, but hey, man, live in the Subaru life. What if he converts? Now, Subaru doesn't have an SUV, really. I mean, they've got the Ascent, but there is still some things to be said about Toyota. They're great cars, but the Outback, you got the Forester Wilderness. The only thing you messed up on was the color. You should have got the Abyss Blue or whatever mine is, but well, the white looks good too. I was between those, and I'm like, ooh, that blue. I love blue cars. Every time I see a blue car out in the wild, I'm like, I love that color blue. Like Cody probably gets tired of me saying, I'm like, I love that color. I love that color. So now I switched back to a blue car. My vehicle before that was blue. I had a Nissan Xterra, which was blue. But I hope you enjoy your car. I hope you have fun with it and get a lot of use out of it. The next one comes from, this is the last one. This was my feel-good comment of the week. So this one pulled at my heartstrings, and I'm going to read it here. It comes from APW. It says, hey, Greg, longtime listener, first-time commenter. Finally came through. It took him 198 episodes, 197, but he did it. It says, I want to thank you for all the joy you have brought my son and I over the years. My wife, like Cody, is a teacher. She's a college professor, and my son, like Clarkman, is an only child. It's surprising to see how many people out in this world are kind of we're living similar lives. I hear from them every so often, like people that are, we got a Patreon message from an individual that they're self-employed. They've got a son like us. They're kind of like, we're living like the same life in alternate timelines, it seems, or same timeline, just different locales. He says, my son started watching your Greg's World videos when he was 2.5 years old, when he first got access to a tablet. Because of your extensive back catalog of videos, we've seen you and Clarkman grow up over the last decade, a bit like the movie The Truman Show. I love that movie. If you ever watch a movie, now you got a book recommendation and a movie recommendation. The Truman Show starring Jim Carrey. So good. said, we've enjoyed all the small things, i.e. Clark going on Easter egg hunts, to the big things like you going on trips to the Outer Banks. I have in-laws in PA, so we went to Dutch Wonderland twice last year for the first time, watching your videos to get excited before going ourselves. You're not the first person to tell me that. When we were at Dutch Wonderland, there was a family that came up to us that said that their kid was watching our Dutch Wonderland video like leading up to. So, hey, we're providing some value to the world. This is where things take a turn for the worse. He says, my son is now 5.5 years old. So the YouTube algorithm has unfortunately pushed him on to bigger, and in my opinion, less interesting things like Mr. Beast, Dude Perfect, etc. So my only connection with you is via this podcast, which I still listen to weekly while walking the dog. I love to do that too. Not my podcast. I can't stand to listen to this podcast, but I do love other people's that are much better at this than I am. If you want to talk about great podcasts, do you guys understand what you're missing out on? Anyways, I do appreciate you tuning in. He says, I want to specifically thank you for 2 things. 1, much of my son's viewing of your videos was during the COVID years, so it was nice to have an escape from the house to vicariously live through your older videos of being out and engaged in this amazing world. It was really humanizing in a way that Netflix, for instance, can never accomplish, so thank you for making those years a bit brighter. 2, I wanted to thank you for making me feel less alone. My wife, like Cody, had a bit of a difficult pregnancy with our son, and I decided one child was enough. It seems like so many YouTube videos are seemingly large families trying to get fame or rich, or likely both, very inauthentically. Tried saying that word once. Said, so being able to watch a father and son play together and face the world together with so much laughter and joy has been inspiring, especially impressive given your family background, which I frankly only learned about on this podcast. So anyway, a very long comment just to say thank you for what you've done and continue to do with your platform. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for taking the time to write something so sweet. Like, I read that earlier this week. I don't reply to the comments directly on there because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to reply to you the way that you deserve to be replied to, and that's on my podcast. But that just like warmed my heart like you couldn't imagine, seeing like the impact that our like seemingly simple videos of us just doing what we do in life, not going out of our way to do anything other than just be ourselves, can impact a child's entire upbringing, at least for the first few years until they find Mr. Beast and Dude Perfect, which we could have a whole conversation about the negative impact that style or that type of content can have on young minds. But that's not my place, and I'm certainly not here to criticize anyone for allowing their kids to watch that type of content, because it's fun to watch, right? Like, why would you watch Greg and Clark running RCs at camp when you could watch Mr. Beast, giving away $30 million to the last person standing inside a circle? That's really fun, right? Or watching Dude Perfect dunk a basketball from 600,000 feet away. Way more exciting stuff to watch out there. But I think you hit something here which is important, and that is, what is it like to be a family? What is it like just to exist and share yourself authentically with the world? I think people are able to do that, but I do think there are like the people that kind of fall into the family vlogger type realm. I don't know. I don't watch any of it, honestly. Like, it's not for me, but it's weird because that's the content that I put out. But I just don't think that's like what I do. Oh, we got a UPS package. Great. That's for a project that I was working on this week. I'm doing some lighting changes down here in the studio, which I'll certainly talk about next week. Anyways, I want to thank you guys all for the wonderful feedback on last week's episode. I hope this one was as good, or if not better than last week's. I hope you got something out of hearing me talk about my week, as normal and as boring as it is, and how it may only be entertaining up until the point that you're 5.5 years old and the algorithm changes you into something else. We still have something here, and it's an honor to have, even if it's just one person in this world, get something from our content that I put out there. Is totally worth it for me, because I just love doing it. And that's what I'll continue doing. So on that, oh gosh, am I even going to find it? We've got 2 different outros. Live every day like it's your best, and I'll see you next week. Where was the other one? Oh no, I'm never going to find it. I'm never going to find it. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Please hold. No, I'm not leaving. You're staying. You're staying until we get this last one. Stay positive. We're all made of stars. On that, thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a glorious week. And as always, we'll find you in the next Missing Pieces.